Hello, my name is Brian Taylor, and you are about to view On Cue's second film, Garf Garf. We start with radio static and some classical music, Pygmalion, and a flashing red light. First thing we see, like a distant star or planet blinking in the sky. And Garf Garf is revealed to be a stranger walking into town. Garf Garf is Josh Parks, who, like most of our volunteers, is an inexperienced actor. He had what I think is a fairly tricky role to play without really being able to talk, certainly having no dialogue. He had to rely on expressions and body language to get across the things we needed to get across, and moments of this film where I think he's brilliant, and it comes through very plainly. He was a bit of a shy guy, but he was certainly very brave to pop in black contacts, or taking out his contacts that help him see, wandering around blind on the highway. And we're all very glad that he didn't die. These shots, like many of the shots in the film, are meant to sort of show off our town of Vernon, British Columbia. We wanted to make use of the beauty and the reality of our town, sandwiched between two lakes. We feature the highway to the north of the town, to the south of the town, where I guess most of the tourists would come from. The lake, you see the hills and the cliff. This is Hospital Hill, named because it's a big hill and there's a hospital on it. Again, what you will see if you come to visit us in Vernon. You probably noticed the items in color, the red blinking light, the hamburgers on the billboards, and the Coke truck. I'd never done anything like that requiring composite shots, tracking motion, and those sorts of things. It took me a while to figure that out, but I thought I did all right. And the reason for the items appearing in color are their advertisements. They point to an intention, a selling of an idea. In the town of Vernon, we have many murals. They're all painted by Michelle Lowry and her crew. I asked Michelle for permission to use the murals in the film. She gladly gave it, which we're grateful for. We wanted to use more, but scenes got cut. This is Adel Karami. He's been with On Cue Film since inception. He's playing a homeless man. He brought that crutch and his wine bottle and his moose stuffed friend there, sort of get into character. I made his cardboard box, which has a Kids in the Hall joke on it, or a paraphrased Kids in the Hall joke. Just got shoes, don't got feet. We're shooting in front of Big Sun Tanning and Beach Shop, who were kind enough to let us use their storefront. I'm glad they did, because their advertising and that giant happy blonde girl fit into the paradigm of the film. These burgers are meant to be magical, or to have some sort of property that makes them special, or perhaps even intoxicating, maybe even addictive, which the film is just one of the many sort of philosophical things that the film points at, but doesn't really explain. And I guess we'll talk more about that later. My friend Jamie Stewart here is playing Big Meanie. He's what you gonna do? And the lines they're speaking in sort of simple sentences. What you doing? What you gonna do? My money, my money. The idea being that it doesn't really matter if you speak English. You probably understand what is taking place here. We could have used made-up words. In some instances, we did use made-up words. But we did want to keep everything so that a toddler could understand the film and understand the concepts of the film. Not understand that they're understanding the concepts of the film, but more like an appreciation of the programming. This is our city of Vernon, from atop, right downtown, atop the parkade. A great vantage point where you can see a lot of different things, including many advertisements. You gotta love the two pairs and the big four. It doesn't mean anything unless you want it to. I love this bit. It's sort of a Western theme showdown kind of shot with Dan Toolsy on the left and Josh Parks on the right. Conjuring the hamburgers really wasn't anything special. We simply asked Josh to freeze, and then we put a hamburger in his hand and said action and continued on from there. And I did the best I could in editing to line everything up, and usually it worked pretty well. Dan done a lot of work on this film and also Battle at Beaver Creek. He's a naturally funny and outgoing guy. He had a lot of great ideas, funny ideas for this film that we simply couldn't use because we had to keep things understandable for anyone. And Dan's ideas were good, but they would have complicated matters. The simplicity of the film would have been lost. Although I do think it would have been funnier. We're about to hear Garf Garf speak here. That was created by, initially Josh came up with sort of a pinched, high-pitched, alien-style voice for Garf Garf, and he would just say Garf Garf. And then in the studio, what I did is I took that Garf Garf and I put it backwards, so it kind of went frag frag, and then I said frag frag into a microphone, try and copy what it sounded like, flipped it over again so that it was going forward, said Garf Garf, but in this weird alien-sounding voice, and then I pitched it up a few, I think 8 semitones to give it a higher tone, and there you have it. Throughout the film, you'll hear Garf moan, groan, and laugh and breathe with this similar effect. The answer to the question of why did Garf Garf's burger power seem to disappear is explained by the fact that Dan has a perfectly good burger there, and when Dan asks Garf to conjure him that other burger because he's disappointed with his Flarnotten's burger, Garf looks at the burger and looks back at Dan as if to say, well, what's the matter with that burger? Yet he conjures him a burger anyway, and I think this is because Garf Garf tested the Flarnotten's burger on the parkade and it failed, whatever that means. So it's like Dan is being greedy by asking for another burger, and Garf Garf is giving into that greed and taking part in it by contributing the burger, and that is like a punishable offense by the universal laws of burger conjuring or whatever. We went with black and white because we wanted to sort of create a 1950s B-movie feel, because we were well aware that we simply had a guy in a mask, and we did the best we could with the makeup, but you can still see the lines, even though I spent 300, I don't know how many hundreds of hours working on getting rid of those lines. All I could manage to do was sort of shuffle them around a bit, but I think it looks better than it would if it was just a guy in a mask. And that wasn't entirely the reason that we did everything in black and white as well. I'm a big fan of black and white. I love the photographs and films of Anton Corbijn, and wanted to have that sort of a deep, saturated black and white look to it, just because I think it's cool. Garf Garf's power transfer was achieved by simply asking Josh to shake and wriggle for a few minutes and then speeding that up exponentially to make it look strange. Music was provided by Feed Them Brains, which is Aaron Howe from England. He did the soundtrack for our first film, The Bite, as well. And it's a big deal in this film especially. In many ways, this is just one giant music video. Dan looks at his hand, sort of a worried expression on his face. He's thinking about what kind of changes his life is going to have for him now that he has this power. And does he have to feed this alien for the rest of life? He now understands that the burgers are finite. Does that mean they're finite for him? Does that mean they're finite for everyone? Are they going to wait until, they're all reliant upon their abilities to conjure burgers? Is everyone going to die because burger power ends? This TV sequence was created first, and then we simply played a DVD of it in the various locations that we're about to move into. It was an opportunity to use up to 7 or 8 layers of green screen composites and things I had found online, combined with things I shot myself. This is Luke Kendrick Davies. He's been a great help so far with On Cue Film, and he gave me about 20 minutes of hilarious stuff to work with as this Fox News reporter. Sorry, Wolf News reporter. Finally, we went with Huzzah, because you got to go with Huzzah.
Through the generosity of people like you that our work continues. Won't you make the simple choice to feed a hungry child for mere pennies per day?
Working with the Nietzsche family was great. They were the first family to be shot for the TV sequence outside of Dan's house, and they were great to. They met my expectations. They exceeded them. They were willing to improvise and do funny things, have funny reactions. Autumn Stewart here, on the other hand, is Jamie Stewart's daughter, obviously adorable. She was not willing to play ball. We had to film her sort of secretly and have her hold things in her hand that weren't hamburgers and all kinds of things, but we managed to get what we needed. Jim and Leanne here, like most of the people in the film, improvised what they did. I simply gave them some hamburgers, explained what Burger Joy was, and said, we're just going to try this a few times, and what we've been finding is that funny things just happen. So, for the most part, that was how the sequence went down. I think the Nietzsche's really helped illustrate the hypnotic nature of Garf Garf's power. Joy reveals truth in that when the hamburgers are conjured or eaten, things become in color. On the surface, the film is about how humans spend more money and energy hurting each other than helping each other. Garf Garf, the film, points out global concepts such as hunger, war, competition, gluttony, greed, consumerism, ignorance, Garf Garf the alien doesn't explain his solution, or maybe he does. All he says is Garf Garf. But nevertheless, free food can only be a good thing. Or can it? There are some intentional problems in the logic of the story. There are philosophical quandaries that aren't mentioned at all, but are pointed to throughout the film. Folks who take their time to think about the things that happen in the film should be able to foresee at least 3 problems created by Garf Garf's solution. These questions are posed by the film, not answered, although there are clues. This is part of the fun of Garf Garf. You can watch it more than once and notice different things. These things may lead you to think about the world, and this is the goal, besides entertaining you. This crane shot was done by Randy Kirk and his crew. We spent about an hour at the top of 43rd Avenue in Vernon. It took 9 takes in the snow. It's the last shot of the film. And obviously it snowed a lot since we started the film, but it's a lovely shot. And if you look closely, you can see a man standing on the sidewalk there.
Well, first we have to address the items in color. They are signs, logos, advertisements, but also after the burger breakdown at the table, the Christmas trees in color, the news anchorman, and the very fabric of space. So how are those things advertising? Well, I guess except for the space itself, although it could be an intention. Basically, the idea is that the things in color are intentions. They're selling an idea. Second, why does Garf Garf's burger power seem to disappear? When Dan is disappointed with his Flarnottens, he asks Garf Garf to conjure him a new burger. And Garf Garf seems to look at Dan and at his Flarnottens and back at Dan as if to say, what's wrong with that burger? But Garf Garf also knows the answer to that question because he tested the burger on top of the parkade and the burger failed, whatever that means. So when Garf Garf conjures Dan a fresh burger, when he's got a perfectly good burger there, he's sharing in Dan's greed. He wastes a conjuring and is punished. This leads to our third conclusion and a problem.
The burgers are finite. They end. This is why Dan looks at his hand after conjuring Gigi a burger. He's wondering what changes to his life his burger power brings. Is he going to have to take care of Garf Garf for the rest of his life and feed him all his food? Is there going to be a time when Dan, too, will lose his burger power? Will it happen to everyone? Will it wait until we're all reliant upon it for our survival? And then, of course, will it then be our ultimate doom?
Will it then be our ultimate doom?